Greetings and salutations and welcome back to Colin's Last Stand right here on YouTube. My name, as always, is Colin Moriarty. I appreciate you being here with me today, and I appreciate all the support you've been giving me and this show over these past couple of months. Thank you so much. Since the last video was so intensive about the hypothetical 1959 US moon base, that took me a long time to research and all that kind of stuff, I want to do a quicker and shorter and dirtier video for you guys today that's not based in history, but based on kind of contemporary philosophy and contemporary politics, and specifically gender identity and all these kinds of just nonsense that's going on, and this push and pull between races and genders and sexual identities and whatever the fuck else is the major buzzword or buzzwords of the day. And this particular video I wanted to dedicate to the Wonder Woman screenings at Alamo Drafthouse that are going to be for women only. Now, I want to be clear about a few things. Number one, I don't give a flying fuck about Wonder Woman. I have no axe to grind with that movie. I hope it does well. I hope people enjoy it. I don't care. I don't like comic book movies unless they're by Christopher Nolan, and I really don't like comic book characters unless they're Batman. So that's not really my thing. I have no axe to grind with it. That's point one. Point two is I have no problem with Alamo Drafthouse. I have no axe to grind with Alamo Drafthouse. I enjoy the service there. It's like my favorite movie theater. So I have no issues with that, and it really introduced me actually to the idea of the upscale kind of movie theater experience as opposed to just going in with your bag of popcorn and hoping for the best. It's hard to go back actually once you've done that, once you've gone to Alamo Drafthouse. Not an endorsement of it if it's not for you, but I'm just telling you that with Wonder Woman and with Alamo Drafthouse, I have no axe to grind. I'm not trying to take them down. I'm not trying to take them down a peg. That's not the point of this video at all. But what Alamo Drafthouse has endeavored to do is to do women-only screenings of the new Wonder Woman movie that people are really anticipating. And it's supposed to be pretty good if you're into that sort of thing. I doubt I'd like it, but it's supposed to be a pretty good film. And they're taking the proceeds and they're going to give the proceeds to Planned Parenthood. And I guess that's worth a third aside as well. I have no problem with Planned Parenthood in the main. I don't think that American taxpayers should be paying for people's abortions. That said, I've actually donated a not inconsequential amount to Planned Parenthood out of my own pocket. So clearly I have no axe to grind with them either. It's not about any of that. My major question here, though, is why? What is the point? And what if the shoe was on the other foot? Now, I want to be clear about a few things with this. Some people bring up the 1964 Civil Rights Act as making this act of having women-only screenings of movies completely illegal. That might be true. In fact, I was reading some analysis on whether this was true or not, that some people have even sued over things like ladies' nights at restaurants and stuff. And the Civil Rights Act of 1964 is indeed a pretty overbearing piece of legislation on the ability of businesses like Alamo Drafthouse to do whatever they want in terms of serving people. If you look at Title II of the law, it says injunctive relief against discrimination in places of public accommodation. And it says all persons shall be entitled to the full and equal enjoyment of the goods, services, facilities, privileges, advantages, and accommodations of any place of public accommodation as defined in this section without discrimination or segregation on the ground of race, color, religion, or national origin. Worth noting that there's nothing about gender there, but I think we understand what the Civil Rights Act was supposed to achieve. And if you go down to Section 3, under there, the subsection, it says, any motion picture house, theater, concert hall, sports arena, stadium, or other place of exhibition or entertainment. Okay, so there might be a legal bearing as to why what Alamo Drafthouse is doing is actually completely illegal. I don't really give a fuck about that. I think the Civil Rights Act of 1964 is a very strange bill in some ways, but also a very vital and essential bill as well. It reminds me of arguments that people like Barry Goldwater would make in the 60s, or people like Rand Paul might make today, saying that who is the government to tell a business that they can't serve whoever they want, and certainly the market would adjust accordingly. Let's say a restaurant refused to serve black people, pretty sure Yelp and Yelp reviewers and newspapers would destroy that restaurant, so kind of the natural market forces would take care of it. Nonetheless, I don't really have a problem with the Civil Rights Act of 1964 in the main. It's easy for me to say that everyone should wait it out or whatever, but especially at the time, there wasn't any time for people to wait things out. I'm not interested in even making that legal argument, although I think the Civil Rights Act of 1964 is fascinating to debate and to go over word by word and line by line, and maybe I'll do a video about that in the future. But I'm going to leave that argument alone. If you want to make that argument, you're more than welcome to make it, but that's not really the point of this video. Instead, the point of the video is, to what end do things like this happen? Because to me, even though it comes under the guise of sort of inclusivity and sort of empowerment, specifically here with women, I feel like it's actually done in a sort of mean-spirited, divisive way that, like, you know the kind of reactions you're going to get when something like this happens. And I wonder why everyone's so focused on splitting everyone apart all the time. And maybe Wonder Woman and Alamo Drafthouse is just the example of this, just the example in the main right now, and it's really not even an important example. It's not even really an example that keeps me up at night. I'm not going to lose a wink of sleep or really think about much about this Wonder Woman fiasco in a few days from now when we're on to something else. But it does bring up the question of What if the shoe was on the other foot? And where does this end? And where does it begin? In other words, if this is deemed okay, if we can have women-only screenings of Wonder Woman, then what's stopping us from having man-only screenings of movies, or black-only screenings of movies, or white-only screenings of movies? And would that be equally okay? Indeed, if the people that are defending this practice, thinking that it's a good idea to have things like this, then are they willing to take it to the nth degree? Are they willing to defend all forms of it? Or are they only willing to defend forms of it that are okay with them? What Alamo Drafthouse is doing is a politically loaded and politically motivated move. And I think that that's totally within their right to do something like this. And it doesn't affect my outlook on the company at all, or my ability to want to spend money there. I don't care. I actually don't really get in the weeds on the politics of corporations typically. And I don't think anyone really wants to follow that to the nth degree either. Otherwise, I'm not so sure you should be getting into Mercedes cars or BMWs, which were both Nazi supported and in the case of Volkswagen, Nazi created companies, or deal with Mitsubishi Electronics, you know, since they made the Japanese Zero in World War II, or, you know, on and on and on. You can just get down the rabbit hole and find all sorts of fucked up things about these companies. I don't choose to play that game unless the company is doing something super egregious, and certainly Alamo Drafthouse isn't doing anything even remotely egregious. I just question the motivation. It's politically motivated because it's saying, hey, there's a big feminist movement right now, right? The third wave feminist, totally over the top movement that a lot of people don't care for. I certainly don't care for it. I don't really understand the point of not striving for equality, but striving for something more than equality, which seems to be like a sort of putting down of men and putting down of white men specifically, and I don't really understand the use of that, especially because white men are amongst the most caring, loving, open-minded generation in human history, but I guess that's neither here nor there. And of course, giving to Planned Parenthood is a sort of jab as well. And again, an organization that I've supported with my own money, so again, not a problem there. I simply am asking if Alamo Drafthouse's competitor, whatever they might be, said, Dunkirk is coming out. It's a movie about white European men getting off of the beaches of France and back home to Britain before the Nazis kill them. Only white European men are going to come to this movie, these particular screenings. And we're going to take all the proceeds and give it to the National Rifle Association. Those are completely equivalent. Completely equivalent. So what I'm curious about is the people that are supporting the Wonder Woman thing, which is your right to do. If you want to have women-only screenings at your establishment and do all that kind of stuff, I think that that's probably within your right to do that. Again, the Civil Rights Act might disagree. I personally, on a personal level, don't really care. But let's say that you're okay with that. Are you also okay with the example I just gave? Because again, they're exactly the same thing. And my assumption is that no, the people that are supporting the Wonder Woman women-only screenings at Alamo Drafthouse would not support the white men-only screenings of Dunkirk with the money given to the NRA. That's just my assumption. In a society that is striving in many ways to be colorblind and genderblind and do all those kinds of things, I feel like we're always kind of brought back into the fold by stupid things that seek to divide us. And I think empowering women and empowering little girls is a great thing. Seeing someone like Wonder Woman on the big screen is surely a big deal to many comic book fans and many women who have yearned to see a female comic book character in the same vein as a Wolverine or whatever, a Batman. And I think that that's really exciting and that's really great. But I just don't understand why we have to constantly reduce everything. Everything. Reduce every single thing. Whether it's in entertainment, it's bleeding in the sports, it's bleeding in all these places that I think a lot of people would prefer not to see this kind of shit everywhere. We reduce it down to gender, sexual orientation, race, creed, religion, and I'm just kind of tired of it. And I'm especially tired of it because I know it is very one-sided. Again, just think about the real-life example of the Planned Parenthood getting money from women-only Wonder Woman screenings at Alamo Drafthouse. And again, just think of the hypothetical other example I gave you about the NRA, Dunkirk, and white Americans. Or white men, white European men. Would that be okay? Why are we always looking to divide and further subdivide? It seems antithetical to the movement of equality, of absolute equality, of color blindness, of gender blindness, of absolute equality for everybody. By saying, we all want to be equal, but fuck you, white men. We all want to be equal, but fuck you, XYZ, and fuck you, ABC. It's just, I don't understand what the point is. Except for, I think I do understand what the point is. I think the point is to be somewhat punitive, and I think the point is to be somewhat mean-spirited. Things like this happen to get a rise out of people. If your point was to make money for Planned Parenthood, for instance, wouldn't you just let people come and just give all of the money on the first night of screenings to Planned Parenthood? Or if you don't want to lose all of that money, wouldn't you just say like 10% of all proceeds are going to Planned Parenthood? The thing is that using Planned Parenthood seems like a noble goal, and in a way it is a noble goal, but it also seems like a shield to shield you from the obvious. I don't like seeing articles that are like, male tears and men are whining, and like, who anyone's whining. It's like, why wouldn't you be allowed to be upset about something like that when basically someone is saying to you, you're not allowed. Isn't that like the whole fight for equality to begin with, is to say like no one should be able to say that to anybody? There is something truly strange about what's going on in the world today. About the way we talk to each other, the way we treat each other, the way we look at identity. And there's this one overriding philosophy that we want equality for all, but the actions don't speak that way. And no, Wonder Woman and the Alamo Drafthouse and the Planned Parenthood thing is not an important example. It's just one of a million canaries in the coal mine saying there's something strange and there's something askew about the way we talk about things and the way we seem to want things and then the way we act on them. Because I feel like there's just a lot of division and further subdivision of everyone into these little camps. It's like my buddy Dave Rubin always talks about, the whole and the collective versus the individual. And by selecting people based on these traits that they really can't control, whether it's their sexual orientation or their color, their skin, or where they're from, or their religion. I guess you can choose your religion, but you can't choose the religion you're born into anyway. I just feel like this is a way to further divide us, and indeed, these are conflicting forces. And I wish people would see them for what they are, which is regressive, and backwards, and wrong. I think Alamo Drafthouse, in my personal estimation, laws aside, but based just on my view of society and view on everything, I think it's totally fine what they're doing. I like the idea of women and you know, moms and daughters, for instance, going, sisters going, all that kind of stuff. But I simply ask, what if the shoe was on the other foot? That's it. That's all. What if we wanted to have white-only screenings, male-only screenings, black-only screenings, Asian-only screenings, Islam-only screenings, Christian-only screenings, atheist-only screenings? There really is a mean-spiritedness to a lot of this kind of thing. I'm just calling it as it is, or at least as I see it. It seems like we pick and choose what's right and what's wrong without any sort of actual consistency, not only on a legal level, but just on a moral level and just on a societal level, a philosophical level. There's just no consistency to the way we look at any of these things at all. And I think it's worth pointing out, because I think Wonder Woman is just another example, not the movie itself, but the Wonder Woman screenings at Alamo Drafthouse, just another example of this. And I'm kind of curious what you guys think about that, because I'm seeing a lot of arguments on one side saying how egregious this is and how terrible it is, and I think that that's probably overstated, but I see a lot of arguments or counter arguments on the other side that are kind of reveling in the nonsense. And it just perpetuates this mean-spiritedness. It perpetuates the separation. It perpetuates the inability to attain the goal of equality. If Alamo Drafthouse really wanted to raise money for Planned Parenthood, they would do that. And they could raise a lot more by including everyone. But they wanted to make a political point. They're allowed to do that. And I think that that's great. But I really am curious what it would be like if my Dunkirk example was real. And I think we all know the answer to that. And I think that's why we have to get away from this kind of bullshit, because it's just not productive. And I think above all else, in our politics, in our society, in the way we deal with entertainment, in the way we deal with each other, there needs to be more productivity and less mean-spiritedness and this feeling that everyone's just trying to poke each other. It's just antagonizing. Everyone's just looking to antagonize each other all the time to score stupid political points. I'm going to trick this Christian pizza shop into serving my gay wedding just to make a point. It's like, okay, why? What is the point of that? I don't get it. Anyway, Wonder Woman, Alamo Drafthouse, Planned Parenthood. Just an example that I wanted to bring up. I'm curious what you think about it. Let me know in the comments below. Of course, I appreciate your support here on YouTube. Subscribe, thumb up the video if you like it, thumb down if you didn't. Of course, I appreciate your support on Patreon as well, and I hope you go over there and give me $1, $5, $10 a month, whatever you can do. It really is appreciated and lets this ad-free, independent, political and historical content exist. Also, let me know what you think of these very loose videos that I'm trying to do now, in contrast with the very serious, long, researched video like the one about the moon base. I'm trying to give you guys a variety of content and see what you guys like and don't like. You were very clear to me that you didn't like, for instance, the scripted videos and you like the more ad-libbed videos, so I only do the ad-libbed videos now. So I really want to kind of give you exactly what you're looking for and exactly what you want. So keep that feedback coming, positive or negative. I'm reading it. I'll see you next time for Colin's Last Stand. I appreciate your time. Keep on learning.